Think about the world map you saw every day in your geography classroom. You know the one? It's pinned to the back of the door, printed in your textbooks, and used as the backdrop for every major news broadcast. It shows Greenland as a massive, icy titan, nearly the same size as the entire continent of Africa. It shows Alaska looking larger than Brazil, and Europe sitting proudly at the center, appearing far more expansive than it actually is. But what if I told you that almost everything you know about the size of our world is a lie? What if I told you that the map you've trusted your whole life is distorted, biased, and mathematically wrong when it comes to representing reality? The truth is, Africa is actually 14 times larger than Greenland. You could fit the United States, China, India, and most of Europe inside the borders of Africa, and you'd still have room to spare. Yet, on our standard maps, Africa looks like a modest neighbor to a giant Greenland. This isn't just a small typo or a minor drawing error. This is a massive cartographic blunder that has shaped our global worldview for centuries. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the Mercator projection. We're going to explore why we've been looking at a distorted world, the secret history of how a 16th century navigation tool became a global standard, and how these stretched lines on a page are silently influencing the way you perceive power, wealth, and importance on a global scale. The illusion of size. Let's start with a simple mental exercise. Look at a standard wall map. To the north, you see Greenland, that giant white mass of ice. Now look at Africa. They look roughly comparable, right? Maybe Africa looks a little bigger, but not by much. Now let's look at the real numbers. Greenland covers about 836,000 square miles. Africa covers a staggering 11.7 million square miles. To put that into perspective, Africa is nearly 14 times the size of Greenland. In reality, Greenland is roughly the size of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, a single country within the African continent. But the distortions don't stop there. Take a look at Russia. On a standard map, it looks like an endless empire that spans the entire top of the world, seemingly larger than all of Africa. In reality, Africa is nearly double the size of Russia. Look at Alaska and Libya. On your map, Alaska looks like a behemoth, dwarfing the North African nation. In truth, Libya is actually larger than Alaska in terms of land area. So, how did we get here? How did the world's most famous map become its most inaccurate representation of landmass? To understand this, we have to travel back to the year 1569. The genius of Gerardus Mercator. In the mid-16th century, the world was a very different place. This was the age of discovery, a time when European explorers were setting sail into the unknown, looking for trade routes to the East and the Americas. For these sailors, the most important thing wasn't knowing exactly how big a continent was. It was knowing how to get there without ending up at the bottom of the ocean. Enter Gerardus Mercator, a brilliant Flemish cartographer. In 1569, he released a map that would change history. But here's the key point that most people miss. Mercator didn't design his map for school children or geography students. He designed it as a specialized tool for maritime navigation. You see, the Earth is a sphere, and a map is a flat piece of paper. Mathematically, it is impossible to wrap a flat sheet around a ball without some degree of stretching or tearing. It's like trying to flatten out an orange peel. You can't do it without it ripping or distorting. Mercator found a mathematical solution. He decided that the most important thing for a sailor was the ability to draw a straight line between 2 points and maintain a constant compass bearing. On his map, if you drew a line from Lisbon to New York, that line represented a fixed direction. As long as you kept your compass on that heading, you would eventually reach your destination. This was a revolution for 16th century navigation. It made sailing across vast oceans significantly safer and easier. But this functionality came with a massive trade-off. To keep the lines of longitude and latitude straight, and at 90-degree angles, Mercator had to stretch the map as you moved further away from the equator toward the North and South poles. This is known as linear scale distortion. Near the equator, the map is relatively accurate. But as you move toward the poles, the land masses are stretched horizontally and vertically. This is why Greenland, which is very far north, looks like a giant, while Africa, which sits right on the equator, looks much smaller than it truly is. The evolution of a default reality. Mercator himself knew his map was distorted. He never intended for it to be the definitive way humans visualize the planet. He saw it as a tool, much like a plumber sees a wrench or an architect sees a blueprint. So, how did a specialized tool for 16th century sailors become the default world map for the entire modern world? The answer lies in history, power, and the convenience of the printing press. During the height of European colonialism, the Mercator projection became the standard. It wasn't just because it was good for navigation, it was also because of how it portrayed the world. On a Mercator map, Europe is at the center, and it appears much larger and more imposing than it actually is. Popular choice is the Robinson projection. This was used by National Geographic for many years. It doesn't try to be perfect in size or shape. Instead, it looks for a compromise. It distorts everything just a little bit to create a more visually balanced and natural-looking world. More recently, National Geographic and many educational institutions have moved toward the Winkel-Tripel projection. This is currently considered one of the most accurate ways to represent the Earth on a flat surface. It minimizes the three types of distortion: area, direction, and distance. It's not perfect, no flat map can be, but it's much closer to the truth than Mercator ever was. Why this actually matters? You might be wondering, does it really matter if a map is a little bit off? The answer is a resounding yes. Maps are not neutral. They are not just drawings of land and water. They are a reflection of our values and our understanding of the world. When we use a map that makes the global south look smaller than it is, we are reinforcing an outdated colonial worldview. We are minimizing the importance of billions of people and the vast resources of those regions. It affects how we think about climate change, how we view international news, and how we understand the scale of global problems. Greenland is not the size of Africa. It's not even close. And it's time we started looking at maps that reflect that reality. We need to stop repeating the mistakes of the past simply because they are familiar. We need to challenge the standard and demand a perspective that is based on facts, not 500-year-old navigation shortcuts. The world is much bigger, more diverse, and more complex than a 16th century sailor could have ever imagined. It's time our maps caught up. Next time you look at a world map, look closely. Don't just look at the colors and the names, look at the scale. Question what you see, because the way we view the world shapes the way we live in it. Thank you for watching. If you found this dive into the world of cartography eye-opening, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden truths of our world. Until next time, keep questioning everything. Stay curious.